Hi friends, I'm Jason. Welcome to Process Junkie. I am a cartoonist and an illustrator and a podcaster, an author. I am an average comedian and a below average actor. And, I live in Manhattan because I love cooking dinner in my fucking bedroom. And this is Process Junkie. This is my thing that I'm making to share the creative process and all of the mysteries and things about it with you. And hopefully you get something out of it. I'm from Australia, by the way. That's why I sound like I just had a mild stroke. And I've made my living as an artist for 20 years. I've learned a lot of things in that time, and I wanted to share them with you, just in case there's something that you can take away from it to help you in your creative journey. I was compelled to make Process Junkie not just because I'm completely obsessed with the creative process, but because I really love creative people. I like creative people. My favorite people in the world are comedians and illustrators and cartoonists and creative people who just soak up all of the inspiration around them and then turn it into something. In Process Junkie, I'm primarily going to focus on the process of creating things. The drawing part, the writing part, the coming up with ideas part, the sometimes mythical, difficult, uncomfortable, creative part. I'm going to cover all of it. I'm going to cover the psychology. I'm going to cover studios and tools and other artists' methods, books, resources, software, drawing tablets compared with traditional tools. I've always worked in a hybrid way where I still use traditional tools, but then I also use digital drawing tablets and stuff like that. I use software. I use all kinds of things to make my art because I don't want to just hem myself in to have to use one single tool for my whole career. I want to be able to experiment and then maybe accidentally find a new thing that I didn't know about. And I want to be able to do that in a way that feels very natural. So, if you want to see my finished work, you can subscribe to New York Cartoons. If you want to see how I made the finished work, you can subscribe to Process Junkie. Or you can just subscribe to both and just see both ends. I didn't want to clutter up New York Cartoons with all the behind-the-scenes stuff, and I didn't want to put the finished work on Process Junkie. So you can subscribe to both. They're free. You can pay extra and get downloads and textures and Photoshop brushes, Procreate brushes, resources, tools, extra guides, templates, tutorials, and extra posts. You can get a whole bunch of extra stuff if you pay, but if you just want the occasional posts, those are free. You can sign up, there's no obligation, and hopefully you get something out of it. And these videos as well will be free. So who the hell am I to be telling anyone how they should be doing anything? First of all, I'm not. I'm just going to show you how I do stuff, and then you just figure out how you want to do stuff. But secondly, that's not a stupid question. There are stupid questions, but ask them anyway. I'll answer them. I've lived in New York for the past 10 years with my dog, who just sits in my studio and farts all day. I've made my living as an artist for 20 years. I grew up in Perth in Western Australia, and I left school and went to a job in printing and then a job in newspapers, and I've been freelance since 2004. I moved to Melbourne, where I worked for 7 years, moved to New York 10 years ago. I'm a cartoonist and illustrator for The New Yorker, and I've worked for a bunch of other print and online publications like Mad, Esquire, Airmail, Wired, Weekly Humorist, American Bystander. For 16 years, I wrote and drew an internationally syndicated daily comic strip called Ginger Megs, published through Andrews McMeel syndication. I've been the president of both the Australian Cartoonists Association and the National Cartoonist Society, and I've served on the boards of organizations like this since for 18 years. And my work's been exhibited in France, the UK, Australia, all over the US. I've written and illustrated books published by Penguin Random House, HarperCollins, and Humorist Media, and my latest book with my friend and writing partner Scott Dooley is coming out in 2025 with Andrews McMeel Publishing. I've been the portrait illustrator for the Waking Up meditation app with Sam Harris for the past few years. I also illustrated the Essential Sam Harris series. I helped produce a monthly show that's been running for 11 years with comedians and cartoonists on stage together. Comedians doing comedy and the cartoonists and animators animating on the big screen what the comedians saying and doing. I do a podcast with my friend and writing partner Scott Dooley called Is There Something in This? Which is kind of our writer's room. It's our writer's meeting to come up with ideas for cartoons for The New Yorker and for stand-up. And we've done live stage versions of the show as well, with like special guests like Roy Wood Jr. and Ronnie Chang. I've done stand-up comedy for 16 years. I've hosted TV shows, I've done commercials, I've done short films, and I'm more obsessed with the stuff behind the scenes in the process than in front of the curtain, the finished product. I've always found myself talking to the cameraman and the gaffer and all those people rather than the other actors. So number one is nothing pisses me off more than people telling other creative people how to do things, like exactly how, prescribing exactly how they have to use a certain tool or do a thing. That's all bullshit. Yes, go to college, go to art school, learn how to do certain things, but then when it comes to making your work, figure out how you like to make it and then double down on that. Double down on the thing that you do really well and then figure that out. Number two, the process is the reward. This is a really important one because you spend more time doing the thing than finishing the thing. So if you get this high at the end of the project where you're like, yeah, I finished the job, that lasts about 5 minutes before you move on to the next job. So what if you flip that and then the doing of the thing was the really fun bit that you enjoy, and then, the finishing it is the icing on the cake. That's just gravy. Don't put gravy on a cake. But that's how you really should be doing things. If you want to actually have a career or enjoy your creative work, you should really be enjoying the making of it, not the finishing of it. And number three, mistakes. You absolutely have to make mistakes. And there are mistakes that you have to make in order to learn, but then there are also mistakes that you can avoid. And I want to share those because I see a lot of young cartoonists and illustrators and comedians and people coming up who are making mistakes that you can totally avoid and not really have any fallout. They're just things like copying what other people are doing. Everyone does it, but like copying styles and ideas and seeing what other people are doing and trying to mimic that to replicate their success. It's a recipe for failure because you're never going to be happy because you're copying someone else. You're not doing your thing. Plus, it never really works. You never really see the same exact replicated process because you saw something someone else did and then you did it and then you're shocked that it doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because you're not them. It worked for them because they are them. To quote the late comedian Bernie Mac, fantastic comedian Bernie Mac, he used to say, "I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm just doing my own thing." The only person you should be in competition with is yourself, like a week ago. Figure out where you are and where you want to get to in your creative journey. You shouldn't use someone else's gauge on what success is or anything. You should just figure out what your enough is, what your thing is, and then double down on that. Thank you for watching. Stick around for the next one. Like and subscribe and all that bullshit, but please go to process-junkie.com and subscribe for free. And I'll see you next time.